Hey gang, Scott Davenport here. In this video, we're going to talk about print size versus file size. Print size being how large you can make a print on your printer or at your print shop, and file size being the amount of hard disk space that photo file takes up on your computer. And they are different. And this came to me from a question that was asked. This guy had a 100 kilobyte file or so pretty small, compact photo file, but was making a pretty healthy sized print, like say an 11 by 14. And that just didn't feel intuitive. It's like, well, how can I be getting such a decent sized print from such a small file on my computer? Well, what that comes down to is the resolution at which you print and how many pixels you have in the photo file. So let's talk about the print size part of this first. So over here in Lightroom, I've got this photo here, and I have the information pane up to show me what pixels I have. I have 4,800 pixels by 7,200 pixels, roughly speaking. So I've got a lot of pixels there. Right? This is from a 42 megabyte camera, so there's lots of pixels in here. When I export this to a photo file, assuming I don't resize it and change the pixel ratio, I'm going to have the same number of pixels. So all those pixels go out to the file. When I go to print, I need to choose a resolution. Now for an inkjet printer at home or some type of print that a person's going to hold in their hands, maybe at arm's length, 8 by 10, 11 by 14, 300 pixels per inch will give a very good high quality print. And so looking at these numbers here, 4,800, 7,200, if I were to print at 300 pixels per inch, I take those numbers, divide by 300, and I come up with something that's in about a 16 inch by 24 inch print. That's a very large print. Now the ones on the wall behind me are 16 by 20, so even a little larger than what's behind me there. So that's quite a good quality print, and it's based on pixels and the pixels per inch that you choose. If you're in a metric speaking country, convert to centimeters. I'm sorry, metric system makes sense, but we just haven't caught up in the US yet, so I gotta talk in inches. Now, can you still make a even larger print from this type of file? Let's use this 4,800 by 7,200 example. Yes, you can. I can choose a lower pixel per inch, maybe 200 pixels per inch. Now I've grown that print size by 33%. Why would I do that? There's a couple of possibilities. One is, as you make larger and larger prints, your viewer is going to be farther and farther away from that print. So they're not going to see the pixelation that may be happening. And so that would be okay, because when you view the photo, you're going to be from a distance and it's going to look smooth and clean and everything's going to be fine. Another might be the type of medium you're printing to. You're printing on high quality photo paper that is going to look very crisp, and you want to have a high pixel per inch count. If you print to canvas, canvas is a little more forgiving, and the nature of the canvas is going to make a print look a little softer. The lines may not be as crisp as they are on a high quality paper or an acrylic or something like that. So you can choose a lower pixel per inch, and therefore with the same pixels you have, get a larger print. So that's the print side of things. But now let's talk about the file size side of things. How much space is a photo file taking up on your hard drive? You may have noticed if you've got a set of photos all taken with the same camera, you export them all using the same settings to say JPEG files, and the resulting JPEG files are all of different sizes. So what's going on? What's controlling that size? Well, there's two things that will have an impact. One is something we have immediate control of, which is the quality slider. In most programs, you can set the quality of your export. And in Lightroom, that is over here in the file settings. When you're exporting, you have a quality slider. And as you might guess, if you take that quality slider and raise it up, you'll get a larger file. And if you lower it down, you'll get a smaller file. I'm going to ignore this limit file. We can do that in Lightroom as well. I don't tend to do that. And I tend to keep my quality around 80. That gives me a good balance between the file size and a good quality photo to share online. Now, the second thing that we don't really have control over for the file size is what's in the photo itself. And I'll show you this photo we have on the screen here. This photo has a large area of mostly blue, a large area of mostly orange, another area that's got a mix of blues and whites and, like brownish blacks. But there are some areas that have a big amount of real estate taken up by a relatively small number of colors. And I think that factors into file sizes. The analogy I like to use is going to the grocery store and you buy 10 cups of yogurt. I don't care what flavor they are. It's like saying I've got this big blue sky. I don't care what the shades of blue are. I've got a bunch of blue. I go buy 10 yogurts. I've got 10 yogurts. I can get a receipt from the store that can convey that information in, let's say, one of two ways. I can get a big long receipt that lists line by line, cup of yogurt, cup of yogurt, cup of yogurt, and I get 10 lines. I get a receipt that I'll have to stuff into my pocket and take up more space. I can also get a receipt, or alternatively get a receipt that says a quantity, as cup of yogurt, quantity 10. That's it. Same information is conveyed, but it's a much smaller package. So think about that in terms of our photos and our file sizes. If the course algorithm is, this is all blue, that's a whole lot of pixels that are blue, and it can represent that in a smaller amount of space. I don't have to have, pixel 1 was blue, pixel 2 was blue, pixel 3 was blue, all the way up to, pixel 4800. It can be ranges. And, of course, this is a very simplified version of it because the photos need to take into account relative position of the colors and so on and so forth. But you start to get the idea here. And where that quality slider starts to come into play as well is how sensitive is the export going to be to different tones, right? Go back to this blue sky again. Maybe if we have a quality of, 40, which is very low, this would be, blue, gray, and blue, and really nothing else. We have a quality of, 80 or 90. This might be, blue, grayish, white, and then moving to the right. This is more blue, gray. Now this is sky blue, and this is, sky blue 2 and sky blue 4, and all the different types of blues that we could possibly have. Back to my grocery store analogy. Now I care about the flavor of the yogurt, and say I bought 3 blueberry, 3 raspberry, and 4 cherry yogurts. The smallest way I could represent that information is 3 lines on my receipt. The flavor, so blueberry yogurt, quantity 3, raspberry yogurt, quantity 3, cherry yogurt, quantity 4. It's not as small as 10 yogurts, but it's smaller than the full list of each individual yogurt cup. So that's what's going on with some of the file compression. So rolling that back to the general question, why are my file sizes different depending on the photo? It will depend on the content of the photo. If the photo has large areas of relatively similar tones, those can compress down better and you end up with smaller files. We don't really have control of that, short of deciding when you're out in the field, I'm only going to photograph things that are going to result in small files, which may be an interesting academic exercise, but I don't think that's the way that we approach our photography. So it just depends on what you're compressing down, what you're exporting out. So to wrap this all up, your print size is dictated by how many pixels do you have and how many of those pixels do you want to pack into a physical dimension. 300 pixels per inch for a high quality print that may be held at arm's length, maybe 200 pixels per inch for something larger or a different type of medium like a canvas. File size is really driven by the file format you're going to choose, how much quality do you want in that file format, and whether or not you're amping up any compression algorithms that might be present with files. Like TIFF files have different types of compression options for them to squeeze down and try to consolidate the representation of those pixels. So when all said and done, the file size itself will not dictate what size print that you can make. I hope that was interesting for you. You found this to be useful. If you've got other questions about it or you have more knowledge about this topic, please feel free to share it. I'm certainly not an expert in image compression algorithms or printing for that matter as well. So I would welcome additional folks that have other experiences, knowledge in this area. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've got other questions, you can always hit me up through my website or with the comments on the video. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport, and happy shooting.